Hey, welcome everybody to our third episode of How to Make Your Websites Faster. First two episodes we've done a lot of cool, fun stuff about how to make your page faster, and today we're going to talk about how to monitor how fast your page actually is. We've given some good tips about making the page faster, but how do you know it's actually really faster out there on the internet? And with me, Dave, today, and we have a guest coming in remotely. Dave will introduce here shortly. We're going to talk about some tools. We're going to give you some really good tips and tools that you can use yourself to go and measure the page load time and different timings inside your page to get an idea of how fast your page is, but also how fast your hosting company is.
There are a lot of tools in this area, in measuring and monitoring the performance of your website. But we're going to kind of bring that back, and we're going to show you four. Three of them are our top picks. If you were to just not have anything but these three, it's Google Analytics with RUM, and we'll show you how to do that. Pingdom, also for uptime, response time, and RUM. And then WebPageTest for doing kind of point experiments, investigations to get some good tips. Right. And then we're going to show you, we have with us a special member here of our team. His name is Joseph Crim. He's an engineer that's worked primarily in performance over the last couple of years here at GoDaddy. He's done some really amazing things for us, and developed a tool that he open sourced. And we're going to demo that and show you where it is and how to get to it and how to use it yourself if you wanted to go to that extreme.
Very
so,
cool.
Joe, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, as Dave mentioned, I'm a Linux engineer working in hosting. I have a specific focus on performance, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now. And my work mostly involves enabling our operations teams to see and resolve performance issues in our environment.
Cool. Right. Very cool.
Right.
So I hear four tools. Free, and free.
That's right.
How better can you get it? All free tools that are going to give you a ton of great data about your page, its performance. You can dive into the tools to find out what can I do to make it even better if it's not really quite up there for you. And so yeah, I suggest we walk through some of these tools and tell you guys what they're all about and how you can turn this stuff on, right?
Right. So the first one, Google Analytics, is something that I would recommend you put on your site anyway, if not for the RUM capabilities, which is real user management. We're not talking about drinking on the show here, but
just water.
Yes, you want RUM so that you know, not synthetically, but actually how your users are seeing your page. And I think you'll find some of the results to be quite surprising.
Right.
I mean, in fact, there's certain situations you can't get yourself out of, like if the end user is on Wi-Fi, a block away from the base, and it's a really bad, poor connection. Sure. You're going to get, but you'll see those with the RUM connectors installed. So
you want to show some of that on the screen?
Yeah.
And see what that looks like.
Let's do
so
this.
I think you've instrumented your own website here with Google Analytics, right?
Yes.
Is this one of the websites that's hosted by GoDaddy that you've instrumented here?
It is. It is a GoDaddy hosted on GoDaddy's managed WordPress platform.
Cool. So even WordPress you can instrument with this kind of stuff.
Yes, you can.
Any kind of web page you could instrument with Google Analytics, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
cool.
you could. And so what I want to show you real quickly is the site speed overview and what you get out of this. So you have, if you go to behavior, and inside of the behavior section in the navigation is this little site speed, and we are screen sharing right now, right? So we're screen sharing. We've got the overview on, and you can see average page load time, and you can do some interesting things here, like click on page timings and see what the individual page timings are. And so I can see that my home page is loading in an average of 0.85 seconds on an average, and that's pretty good, right? I'm feeling pretty good about that. That's pretty good. Most of these pages are loading really fast. Now I've only had my sample rate set at 100% for a couple days. Before that, it was set at the default, which is 1%.
Gotcha.
And so what? And that's one of the downsides of this Google Analytics tool is that you have it. If you install Google Analytics on your site, you have the site speed, but you're going to see that it's going to say sample rate based on right now. It'll say that it's based on a percentage of total, and it'll be a low number for the page load times over here.
Yeah.
And one of the tricks that we want to show you, and I'm going to have to switch back to here to show this, is the little piece of code that you want to put into the JavaScript that Google Analytics gives you to put on your page. So Google Analytics will say, you sign up for it, it'll say, put this JavaScript on your page, and you'll have all of your navigation times. You'll know how people are going through your site and stuff like that.
So now you say, Dave, when you sign up for it, are there any instructions you want to give the users real quick on how you even? I mean, I suppose you can just copy this code, put it in your page, and voila, there you go. You need to set up something with Google, right?
Right.
So you need a webmaster account, I suppose.
You don't, but it's a good idea to get that also. So I don't want to get too convoluted and start talking about yet another tool.
No, I think it may be just a little confusing of where's the starting point. So just you need to do some work up front before you can just then copy this code into your page.
So I'm kind of taking a leap of faith here, assuming that you already have Google Analytics installed.
Okay.
Then there is something that you need to do in order to change your site speed sample rate to 100%.
Gotcha.
This line that you see pointed at right here, site speed sample rate, 100, is not in the JavaScript code that Google gives you.
Not in the default code.
It's not there. So this is a little insider trick here. You put this in there, and now your sample rate for page timings. Those page timings occur in the browser naturally anyway. It's just a matter of whether the beacon that goes back to Google includes those page timings and gets logged and at a. So if your site is getting hundreds of millions of page views a month, then 1% is probably a fine number. But if you're like me and you're getting 100 a week, a few hundred a month, 100% is going to give you a lot better knowledge of how people are actually. So I want to know about every single visitor, not 1% of my visitors.
Yep. Very cool.
So I do have a question actually coming in on that.
Sure.
Michael says that's the old format for the GA tracking code. Will that work with the new isogram code?
I don't know, but I would imagine that it will. I'd have to look and get back to you. I need to research that and find out. But I know for certain there is a way to turn that the setting to 100%. Whether it's done exactly the same way or not, I don't know.
Okay, cool.
Thanks for the question, though. Keep them coming. That was a good challenging one. I'm like, I got to look that up. But I will follow up on the board afterwards with the answer to that a little bit more definitively.
Cool. So Google Analytics, not only but also for are going to supply you with timing data. Very cool.
This is one more thing that's pretty cool to do too. Inside of Google Analytics, if you come into this distribution tab here, you can see a breakdown, like a histogram of the count of the page loads that came in a specific time. So between 0 and 1 second, 19 of my page loads came in. By the way, I have this narrowed down to a very small date range here, just 2 days, 29th and 30th, because I had just recently turned my sample rate up to 100%. So this just represents two days of page views on my site. So it's not a lot, it's not a very big sample, but I do know now, because I turned it to 100% every single one. And hey, 3 of them came in between 0 and 0.3. 6 of them came in between 0.3 and 0.5. That's pretty interesting stuff to know.
Cool. This is really going to help you also identify if there was that 1 or 2 visitors that were in the backyard off of Wi-Fi with a very bad signal. They'll probably sit in the 10 to 15 second bucket, right? And if there's only 1 or 2 of them, then you know that would totally skew your average. But once you throw things in buckets like this histogram, that's why I love histograms. They're great. Really helps you kind of identify and see if the majority of your users are in the bucket where you want them to be.
Yeah, that one guy that comes up in 20, 30 seconds is going to skew your average, but it won't skew the look of the graph. It'll be really big at first, and it'll taper down, and then you have one guy who's like over there. But
totally. Very cool. Very cool. Any other cool tricks in here
Well, there are, but for sake of time, we should probably move on to the next tool.
All right, cool.
So,
So Pingdom. Why Pingdom? You just talked about Google Analytics gives you a lot of rich data, a lot web analytics, performance data. What more can there be that you might want to look at?
Pingdom is a neat tool that does uptime monitoring is its primary function, and all the hosting providers are guaranteeing you this 99.9% uptime guarantee, and by the way, does anybody know what 99.9%? What is 0.1% of 30 days? How much downtime is that? Do you know? And
I'm sure you do.
The answer is
you worked it out.
99.9 is about 45 minutes.
In a
so
month.
like yes, you can
month.
yes, and in a 30-day period you can get up to 45 minutes. So
that could be the 45 minutes at 2 p.m. on a Wednesday afternoon, which is normally your busiest time.
I mean, hopefully it's just like a scattered is better, like a minute here, a minute there, a minute here. But you to get 4 nines, 99.99% uptime, you need to have you can only have up to I think it's about 5 minutes. About 5 minutes of downtime.
Plus, what I bet you also a lot of hosting providers, and I'm not even sure what we do, but 99.9 or 99.99% uptime means that their environment is up 99.99% of the time in their network. It doesn't necessarily mean that your web page
is being served.
Was up 99.99% of the time, right?
I mean, it's certainly the
entire environment that they guarantee, and so that's why I think a tool like Pingdom comes in really handy, because you can now go and see if your page specifically is up 99.9%.
No, and the point is know your uptime. Don't rely on your hosting provider to tell you, because they're not gonna tell you the whole story. And having a tool like Pingdom, by the way, it's free for a single site, and then their plans are very reasonably priced. If you're a web pro and you're managing multiple sites, you can have a lot of accounts under your belt, and it's dollars a month per site. It's really very, very affordable. And if we look at the screen for a second, I'll show you what the downtime actually looks like. So I've got the same site, the Hosting Performance Guru, marked on the last 30 days, and you can see that I've had 10 minutes of downtime over the last 30 days, and by the way, that was 99.98% uptime. It's actually pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with that number.
Pretty good.
I mean, I don't
One
like
outlier?
that. I don't like that it was down, but it was down. There were 2 times, once for 1 minute and once for 9 minutes. So on 7/24. I was down for 9 minutes, and if I really wanted to know what was going on there, there's this little button here, root cause analysis, and you can click on that, and it'll load up a reason. And I see here HTTP error 403. I believe that's a temporarily unavailable. It's most likely due to the hosting provider. In this case, it was GoDaddy.
Measured from Montreal.
Don't like necessarily saying, hey, GoDaddy had a problem, but they did. The way Pingdom works.
That's pretty cool. I mean, this is not just monitored. This is monitored from overseas and Canada, Milan, Italy, and name it, right?
They have nodes all across North America and Europe. And they kind of round robin once a minute. They test your site once a minute. And then if one of them comes up as down, they don't trust one down as down. It'll automatically go try from another location, and if it gets down from 2 locations at the same time, then it feels, it's really down. It's not like a node problem with Pingdom or some kind of weird route problem that's just affecting that one node. And that's why when you come into this root cause analysis, you see the 2 buttons here that show you they both came up with HTTP 403. One from Milan, Italy, and one from Montreal, Canada, both at approximately the same time. Both got this 403 error. So this thing was, this site was down for 10 minutes. As a site owner, I feel good that I know that information. I know my site was down during that 10-minute time, and that's why it's really important to deploy Pingdom.
And so with all these locations that Pingdom's measuring from, I can imagine that if they're measuring anyways, are they by any chance also measuring the response time while they're doing their thing?
Yes. Let's look at that for just a second. So,
because that's pretty cool, right? So Pingdom, whereas Google Analytics is going to give you performance data from all your live users, your real users. Pingdom is a tool where you have a robot or a bot, if you will, sitting in a data center somewhere, I suppose, that measures the uptime availability, but also gives you another look again at your response time. Right.
Now, it only doesn't do a full page load. In other words, it does a get on that initial, on the URL that you put it, but all the page objects, the JavaScript, the CSS, and stuff like that, it doesn't download those things.
Okay.
But it does, I think, when they do this fetch, they're fetching it mainly to make sure that you're up, but they may as well time it and then tell you what the average times are. And so
it's nice because it does it 24/7 too, right? So you get a lot of data points.
I can see here, that my average is kind of humming around here between, 508 and 794. Yesterday, my average shot up a little bit to this high point of 794 milliseconds, which is, 0.7 seconds. I'm like, okay, it might be worthwhile looking into why it shot up. But there's one more thing that Pingdom does that I think is worth doing in conjunction. So Google Analytics does RUM, but so does Pingdom.
Oh, cool.
It's a pretty cool thing. A lot of people don't know that Pingdom also does RUM. They have this neat little RUM. You do have to do the RUM. You do have to put their JavaScript on your page.
Sure. So that's another piece of JavaScript on the page. So it's a little bit of a choice of the user, I suppose, if you want to stick more JavaScript on your page to again monitor RUM data. But as we in kind of in IT in the monitoring world always say, make sure you monitor the monitoring tool.
Yes.
Right. So don't just believe one tool. Maybe run the other one and kind of compare them against each other, right? And make sure that both sources are telling you the same story.
Right. Now, a couple neat things if we share the screen again. That I'm on the RUM. I'm in the RUM area here, and so it has median load time at 1.7 seconds. It also has you can switch to average, and I can see, my average was 3.7, but the median was only 1.7. So that's something that the Google Analytics tool doesn't do, is let you see the median. It only does the average, and so that's pretty cool. And it's got some really neat graph of the country here. It also does the load distribution time. But it's kind of fun to look at this one and look at the Google Analytics, especially if you can line up the time frames and see how close they are to each other.
Yeah.
So
cool.
One user had a question on Pingdom, not necessarily on the use of it, but just in trying to find it. He said he can see the startup account's $14.95 a month, but there isn't a reference for a free account. He didn't know if you can show him where that was.
Did they get rid of it? Let me
I
see if I just.
Someone posted in the comments following up saying pingdom.com/free. So maybe we can check that out.
50 checks. Maybe this is the starter account. 10 checks. Oh wow. Did they not have? Did they stop doing that?
Go to
try /free.
/free at the top and /sign up. See if that does it.
Somebody said to go to /free. Okay, let's see what happens. So the one that I was showing you, that I'm demoing to you, is a free account that I'm not paying for. That I signed up for my hosting performance guru. They may have gotten wise and decided that they're not going to do that anymore. So I apologize for saying that they have a free one if they no longer offer that.
It looks like this might be.
So I went to /free. Tired of outages? Be the first to know when your site goes down. Free sign up. No credit card required. You put an email address and a password. Maybe they monitor websites, detailed reports. So this may be the trick.
It looks like things have changed a little bit. Almost it's
things have changed a little. So
a couple of weeks since we signed up.
Right. I may be grandfathered into the free. Whether you can still get it free is still up for debate. However, it is, and we're not affiliated in any way with Pingdom, by the way. I mean, I'm giving you an honest, I like this application, and there's no benefit to GoDaddy or myself in saying that.
Yeah.
So anyway, the plans are pretty well priced.
If we find out otherwise, we'll post it back on the event page and let you guys know if we find anything. But /free may just do it for you. All right, so Google Analytics, Web Analytics, and RUM, Pingdom, uptime, availability, and RUM again. Right. So now you know how fast or how slow your page is. The third tool we were going to talk about is WebPageTest, which is a tool that, if you find out your pages are really not satisfactory in their performance, especially tools like Pingdom and Google Analytics are really going to tell you that they may be fast to closer to where your page is actually being hosted, but maybe totally slow on the other side of, say, the US, or let alone overseas in Europe or Asia, if that's where you're serving pages, then you probably want to know about that, right? And knowing about it is one thing. Doing something about it is something entirely different.
Right.
So WebPageTest is a great free tool that's out there, written by Pat Meenan. Shout out to Pat Meenan over at Google. This page is kind of an evolution of tools that have been around for quite a while. A lot of great information in this tool. If you don't already know it or have seen it, it's growing tremendously in popularity. WebPageTest is really a way to take a one-time snapshot of your page. It's done by agents that WebPageTest runs for you in various locations, and the great thing about these agents is they actually really do start up a full browser and run the page in that browser. You have a choice of all kinds of flavors of browsers, IE 9, 10, 11, Chrome, Firefox, name it. Even mobile, which is fantastic. Mobile browsers on, I believe, maybe even some of them are real mobile devices that do the testing for you. So want to just really quickly maybe show a little bit of WebPageTest and see what kind of data you get.
Yeah,
we'll show that on the screen right here. So this is a test that was performed. I think, Dave, you ran this just before we started.
I did.
Of Hosting Performance Guru. So essentially, the homepage of WebPageTest is very straightforward. You put in a URL, you choose your location and your browser of choice, and you hit test, and off it goes. The agent picks up the job and runs the test and comes back with all this great information here,
including this waterfall that you can click on, and then you get this really neat breakdown here of all the different objects that were downloaded. I can see this one right here took a really long time to content download was pretty long on this one. It's only 92 kilobytes. It's a little bigger than I'd like, so it's actually a little tricky for me to see why that one was took so long. But the neat thing, the thing that we're showing you here is like these little bars indicate some other pieces too. You can see that this orange bar, I believe, is the DNS lookup time. Is that correct? So DNS lookup time on this.
Sorry, that's the TCP connect time.
Oh, I apologize. So TCP connect time, on this particular object was a little bit longer, and than the TCP connect time on some of the other pieces. I can see this one's coming off of a third party, so I'm downloading this Bootstrap JS from a third party CDN, and that the connect time there took a little bit longer. In this particular run, we're not going to dive into what's wrong necessarily with this. Just want you to know that this tool is here, and there's a lot of really neat things you can click on to learn more about the performance of your individual web pages.
Right. And yeah, I just want to really show this page. I think this is probably one of the coolest pages in WebPageTest. Is essentially a rundown of all of the objects that were on the page, and these 6 columns here that tell you something about a subset of the best practices that we're trying to tell everybody about. Things like, are the images on there compressed? Are you using progressive loading of images? Are your expiry headers working? And these are actually subjects that we spoke about in the previous 2 episodes. So WebPageTest actually goes and looks at every object on your page and tells you whether or not you're following best practices on all those objects. So this table is great. I mean, this could be a workflow to just run your page through WebPageTest every so often and start attacking the ones that have a little red circle with a cross here, and say, hey, why is this one not compressed, or why is expiry headers not turned on, and let me fix that, and slowly your page will get better and better.
Right. So we've shown you some really cool our 3 favorite tools here. If you want to take it to the next level, that's why we have Joe Crim here on the show with us today. He's going to show you some of a tool that he created for us here at GoDaddy, but also open sourced it to the world. Right. And we use it to monitor thousands of servers. This control site that we load, Joe will tell you about it, and we use WebRocket to measure the response time of every one of those servers, and use that to make sure that all of our hosting servers are performing within the right spec. So, if you are a pro with a lot of accounts and you wanted to invest the time to kind of make one of these environments yourself, Joe is going to give you a demo here and show you how to kind of get kick-started on that. So, Joe, you want to take it over?
Tell us about your fancy tool.
So, yeah, we developed an application called WebRocket. We ended up open sourcing it in January of this year, and we use it to measure all of our different hosting assets. Now, there are a few services like Pingdom that will do synthetic testing on a regular interval, and then there's also the open source application WebPageTest that will do some deep dive analysis. But what we really wanted was a little bit of both. So what we built is an application that uses a headless WebKit browser to fetch all of our assets every 5 minutes. So we're fetching at an interval. But we also return back rich metrics, about 90 different metrics on your site's performance. And basically, this headless WebKit browser is very similar to, fetching a bunch of different URLs from Safari or Chrome or something like that. So we set up a control site on all the servers that we wanted to measure, and this is a full-featured application with a database and whatnot. And we have 3,600 of these sites, and we pull them every 5 minutes, and we collect all that data, and we feed that off to our operations team to go out and make sure our environment's nice and healthy across the board. So
cool.
I'm going to go ahead and
tested, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely built to scale for sure.
Cool.
So I'm going to go ahead and share WebRocket here. I'll give you guys a little demo. So as I mentioned, this is an open source application. So our code is up here on github.com/webrocket. There's several different components. This isn't offered as a service or anything like that, so it definitely requires some setup. And it's not for people just wanting a little bit of metrics. It's mainly for people that run a lot of different URLs and want to get a really good view into their setup. So we also have a website set up, webrocket.io. So we have some quick start guides on how to get things installed and some setup documentation. So give that a look if this interests you. Also, we accept pull requests and feature requests. So if you see anything you want added in, let us know. So I set up a quick demo of WebRocket. And when you're getting started with WebRocket, you'll go ahead and create a type. So I'm going to create a type here. Now, types are used to group our checks, our URL checks together. So when we go back into the tool, we can understand what checks maybe belong to what clients or what product lines or whatnot. I'm going to create a type. And once I do that, it creates a little navbar menu. And I can go in here and I can go ahead and actually create some checks. So maybe I want to do hosting performance peruse site, and you can tag the application, so we can say this is WordPress and put in the URL and whatnot. And when we create this check, it'll go ahead and start fetching, in this case, every 300 seconds.
Now, Joe, if I had a few hundred checks that I wanted to enter all at once, it would be kind of painful to enter them one at a time into this form. Do you have something for that?
Yeah, definitely. So this user interface is actually built on top of an API. So everything that you can do in the user interface, you can actually program against the API to do all these different interactions with WebRocket. So I can load up 100 checks, with a little script that I write or whatnot, or integrate it into my system.
Hey, Joe, it's almost coincidence that you typed in WordPress for the application. I'm just going to take a very quick moment here, and I just found this really cool looking WordPress T-shirt here, and just kind of wanted to throw in that we're giving away some of these T-shirts, and they're really cool. As you can see, it says WordPress Outlaw.
Right. All you got to do.
You guys, what do you got to do for this?
How many of them are we going to give away? I think it's 5, right?
Probably
5-ish,
5 or so.
Maybe 5 something. So hashtag hosting performance. If you tweet hashtag hosting performance, our production manager will find we'll find your tweets, and we'll select 5 of them to get one of these fancy dancy T-shirts here.
Yay.
Nice. All right, back to you, Joe. Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, no worries. So I have up here, with WebRocket, you get a couple different default views. So in this case, this is the list view. So what it kind of shows you is your 1 day, your 2 day, 1 week, 1 month performance measurements. So we have the full page load. We also have the time to first byte, which is something worth looking at. We also display the content length here, and that's just to make sure that we're fetching the entire page. And then we also provide you a spot check view. And so the spot check view, let's say I'm a web developer and I have a bunch of different URLs that I want to measure my performance on. What I can do is I can load up 50 different URLs, 100 different URLs, and I can see them all in one space, and I can kind of glance for anything kind of out of the norm with my performance. So definitely a handy little view, and also we provide you some ways to. We provide you a nice little graph explorer to really start diving into all those 90 different metrics and checks and whatnot that I alluded to earlier.
Right.
So
it's really neat. My question a moment ago was I knew the answer before I asked it, but I really like that you used the API first kind of design pattern when you created this application, because the UI is really just it's a pretty cover over the top of the meat of everything that's happening is down in the down underneath the API.
Yeah.
So that's a really neat thing, and this tool is really very useful. Helps us monitor our entire environment. It's open source, can be available for others that are outside of it. But I know we're a little bit over time here. Is it okay, Joe? I'm sorry. Was there any more that you wanted to demo here?
Nope, that's about it.
All right. Well, thanks for showing that. Thanks a lot for being on our show.
Very cool. Thanks for making this open source. I really think that's quite exciting. It shows that we care a lot about performance. We think it's really important. And like you said, Dave, we use it ourselves. We use Google Analytics ourselves. We use WebPageTest all the time. We use all these tools from day to day because we think performance is really important. Web page performance. Not just for us, for you guys as well. So go out and use these tools, go play with them, set them up, and see what you can learn. Data is power.
And we've got one more episode next month on the books, and maybe we'll do more after that, but this little mini-series was set up for 4. The first one was on expires headers, and then we did image compression, and this time it was about how to monitor your site. And next month is on
combine, minify,
and compress. Yes, so compressing, combining, minifying, making things smaller and tighter.
You just had a waterfall. If you don't like waterfalls that look like this, you want to squeeze them down. Fewer objects is better. So we'll talk about that next episode. All right. I think that's it for today. Let your questions, put them on the event page, and keep an eye out for GoDaddy events and how to make your web page faster. We'll find out. We'll set a date here pretty soon for the next episode, and make sure you come and join us again.
All right, and thanks again, Joe. Thank you for being on the show. Good stuff. I liked your demo.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Joe.